Good evening and
Uh,
welcome to the 20 podcast. I am Karl Levy, Levy as your host, and joining me alongside is my co-host Douglas on. Good evening, Doug.
Good evening, Karl. Good to be back. Obviously, you and Ryan did a really good job the other day, and it's great to be back. It's felt very very weird. Let me just say that, but I hope everyone's doing well in the chat, and yeah, it's good to be back. Good to be back, Karl. So thank you very much.
No problem, Doug. It's good to have you back after. I know you were off for a bit sick, but it's good to see you back on here as well. We are going to be discussing a lot of past week results this weekend with Man City thumping Manchester United, and also Liverpool got a late winner after after a bit of a controversial penalty, which fortunately it was a penalty. We should discuss that more with our guest shortly. And also, really good win for Spurs after this weekend, after they beating West Ham. We'll talk more about the calamity own goal that happened at Kieran Crouch between Fulham and Leeds, unfortunately, as well, which we'll discuss more. And also, the future of Amorim's situation at the moment as well, and all the other games across the week. So, yes, we've got two of our main guests joining us, and we've got, first of all, our usual resident, a Burnley fan, is Dan from Turf Moorhouse TV. Even Dan?
How are you? How is everyone? You all good?
We're all good, yeah.
Happy days, happy days. I'm still
And
smiling.
yeah, and also joining us from Red Devil United is Rich. So good evening, Rich.
Evening, guys. I hope everyone's good today.
Yeah, we're all good. We're all good. We're absolutely good. It's good to have you both on tonight to discuss a lot of things over the next hour or so regarding this past weekend's results after the international break, which we're glad to see some interesting fixtures. But yeah, why don't we start off with probably looking at, yesterday's game at the Etihad Stadium, and I have to say, Man United did not look really good. Fortunately, after they got thumped by Man City 3-0. Phil Foden scored the first goal, and then Erling Haaland scored two goals in the game. And there's been questions about Ruben Amorim's future. There was, the club have came out today to say, well, they come out today and said that they will be patient with the manager and so forth. And Rich, as we got you on here as a loyal Man United fan, give us your outcome of the result yesterday.
I think this is one where it's like more frustrating for Manchester United fans because going into this game, you look at Man City as not starting the season well, and I think a lot of Manchester United fans are quite confident. Okay, I don't think we were playing particularly well ourselves to start the season, but you go into this game thinking, okay, City got some weaknesses, and Manchester United, can we actually capitalise on those? I think over the game, I think that when we saw the lineup, there's from my opinion, a lot of errors made in that one. Co-Mainoo should be starting midfield. We missed players say like Cunha as a signing. If he's playing, he's definitely playing as that attacking 10. But with him not actually being able to play and being injured, and Mason Mount not being available either, it just seems crazy that Bruno Fernandes has played in this bizarre, more defensive midfield role when he's the most creative player in the squad. And then we see Ruben Amorim leaving Co-Mainoo on the bench, where he came on, I think, after 60 minutes, and we created, like, okay, I'm not big on stats, but if you look at expected goals, I think we ended with 1.6. We were on about zero when Co-Mainoo came onto the pitch after 60 minutes, and we created nothing until then. The game was like done by the time he came on. And substituting Yoro for Maguire, and if you saw the third goal, it was essentially comedy where we had Holland was about 5 meters above, like beyond our defensive line, but we're all in City's half. It was ridiculously bad. Like it's so bad, it's farcical that I'm kind of like when I saw the picture, I just laughed. And it's just it's gone to the point where everybody talks about Ruben Amorim's system. 31 games, 31 points is pretty pathetic. I think regardless of what you look at and go, we have to back the manager. You have to look at the results and say, if I was investing a couple hundred million of my own money or a few hundred million like Jim Radcliffe has, I would be looking thinking, am I going to spend another few hundred million and bankroll this? Because at the moment, I think he's quite lucky that he's not at a different club because he would have been sacked a while ago. So again, it's probably a bad time to ask me about the situation because it does feel like a low point, and it does feel a bit like if we see another 5 games, I can't give you any reason why it's going to be any different. Like Chelsea, again, an organised team, it's going to be difficult, and other games we're looking at. Are we going to really wait till we play teams that got promoted for our first win? And I mean, Dan saw probably the best and worst of Manchester United when we played them. that we can create chances, but we're not always the most clinical. But defensively, we'll do something. Almost every single game, we'll do something stupid and concede goals, and we're not scoring enough to counteract that. So, unfortunately, I haven't got any positives. But yeah, so with Ruben Amorim as well, he's almost got the dreaded backing, hasn't he? Which means he's going to get sacked. So I don't know. I said this yesterday. I get the feeling that Jim Ratcliffe's already made the decision, and as fans, we probably just debate it until the inevitable happens because I can't really see a way back unless something dramatically changes. I can't see any other trajectory apart from at some point he loses his job before Christmas.
Yeah, it is a huge worry. And Doug, we saw Man City looking back to their old best. You think now after that, after the last two games before the international break, we've seen a bit of the Man City of old coming back.
There was certainly signs of it yesterday. I mean, look, I'll be honest. I don't think both teams particularly played very well. It was only sort of like City being, clinical in the end, and they didn't really have to play well because, yeah, that third goal is just like I think we're told basically like you can't be offside in your own half, and literally Holland's got the whole like space to basically run into, like play it past by India. But I think the one thing that would really worry me if I was obviously like United, the only signing I think that's really worked so far is Mbomo. He looked like he was really up for it yesterday, and actually that shot he had from Donnarumma's save was unbelievable. Save from Donnarumma. But I just kind of look at that game yesterday, and obviously with what happened to obviously Ricky Hatton, obviously rest in peace, Ricky Hatton. It's absolutely really sad, really sad with what happened there. That news took me by surprise yesterday. I think it took everyone by surprise. It was just really unexpected. And then when you obviously look at what happened in the game, I think it was very, very good. Obviously, City obviously won it for Hatton, but City had an interesting lineup. I thought yesterday. Obviously, having Kuzanov at right back, who I thought did a pretty good job. I've got to say. And then obviously he had O'Reilly on the left back. Pep clearly doesn't know his best back line yet, and I think as well, he's changed it a lot. Bit like Amarim at United, he seems to be chopping and changing with the back line at the moment as well. But I felt sorry for Sesko yesterday. I'll be honest. I think he didn't have any service whatsoever. Um, and unfortunately, the way things are going. I mean, obviously, as Rich said, Amarim looks like he's got that dreaded vote of confidence. So they're obviously going to have to try and beat Chelsea on on Saturday tea time. But I don't know. I mean, I still think it's the same old problems at Manchester United. And when I say same old problems, how has Luke Shaw still at Manchester United in 2025? I will never know.
I think the worry is like Luke Shaw being at Man United. He's at Manchester United because you can't sell an injury-prone player on a lot of money. But why is he being selected ahead of other players that are better? Like Aiden Evans played a few games last season. He's a better prospect, but I don't see why there isn't our best back three last season was probably Yoro playing where Luke Shaw played and dropped Mazraoui into a back three, who is essentially right back normally. And I think this is actually a defence that worked quite well. And Bruno Fernandes doesn't have the discipline to track back anyway. He's an attacking midfielder. Why is Mainoo not in that position? It just, for me, it just doesn't make any sense. Like City are a good team. They've got the best striker in the Premier League, in my opinion. I think they possibly might have the best goalkeeper at the moment. I saw Donnarumma's quality as well. As in terms of a shot stopper, he's world class. I just don't know. I think we made it easier for City because we effectively gave them the first goal where Doku, who I don't highly rate, but he went through about three people. No one's putting a tackle in, and then Foden. There's no attempt to actually win the ball, and the goalkeeper's like nowhere near the shot either, which It's just for me, it's like I complain about 5 people. It's just that it sums up our season, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, your perspective on the result yesterday?
Yeah, I felt for United a little bit. I thought it was a game that, on the back of that Burnley result, it gave them a little bit of belief. I mean, obviously, as a Burnley fan, to see how the Liverpool game and the United game, they celebrated it like winning Champions Leagues. We've got to take that as a positive, that little old Burnley have rattled the big six when you look at our contest. But going back to that game, I thought United were going to give a really good account of themselves. And I think once the first goal went in, it was so easy for United heads to drop when it shouldn't have been. That should have been the wake-up call. There's moments that, in games we talk about moments. All it takes is the opposition hitting the post, and then sometimes you wake up, the game changes in your favour. But it just didn't. It just didn't. And then the mistakes kept on coming. As you said, the third goal, I mean, I think it was Reinders even had a shot that just narrowly went wide. The incident where Haaland had done everything right, just the ball never dropped in the back of the net. As well, I can't really pinpoint what it is with Manchester United. I don't know whether it's Amarim's chopping and changing. I mean, for me, I'd be playing Bruno as that number 10 because, like Rich said, he doesn't come back. So if you've got your most attacking player there in that squad that's willing to get forward, play him as a number 10.
Yeah.
Play him as a number 10. But like I say, for me, you could tell it was one of those where usually this is a game that's hyped up majorly by Sky, and except this time it was City that wanted it more.
Yeah, City deserved to wanted it more. That you could see that, even though it probably wasn't the best game, but we did bet how City was going to be like yesterday, especially with their injury list. List has really been way beyond the charts, and they missed a lot of players, but somehow they still got the win. So it's just a question: is with Man United not in European competition, how are they going to keep themselves match fitness? Then are they going to have to play match behind closed doors to keep themselves match fitness? Wow.
There's been a story. I don't know if you guys have seen the story where there's a story that's been talked about maybe like a couple of days ago. It's quite a recent one on the weekend. The Manchester United might schedule some like quite high profile friendlies to raise money effectively. And there was a talk about, I think AC Milan not in European competition because they were talked about as being a possible opposition. But if you saw the Asian All Stars, the Hong Kong, that Manchester United might do something weird. That I don't think it's a good idea, but I think some rival fans that have heard the story are not happy because it is potentially Manchester United playing some games to make a lot of money. But ideally, you don't really want to see some of these players like traveling around, potentially going on. They're not the best quality pitches and getting injuries. So I think there's going to be like definitely like I think match fitness won't be a problem. Like there's so many games in football anyway that I think they'll be fine. But our squad's a bit smaller as well, so it's not going to be. I don't think got loads of people to keep happy. But United will try and do something like that possibly. I don't see us doing lots of games, but I wouldn't be surprised if we did that.
Yeah, absolutely. As well, let's go into some messages in the comments section. Good evening, Stephen. Hope you're well. Doug's wave you back as well, and also Luke himself, the Man City fan. He from MIL Pod. He said it's way too early to say we're back. We need to improve, work on a few things, but the quality is there. Which is like I said, it's a lot of work to do, especially you're bringing in, a new coaching, coach like Pep Linder's coming in as well. Also, good evening, Kate. Hope you're well. Yes, as well. And Stephen also said good evening to Kate as well. Hope she's doing well tonight as well. So, yeah, we'll move on to the early game on Sunday yesterday. Doug, I'll let you take the lead on this with Dan Burnley against Liverpool.
Yeah. Another game where it's a late show. First things first, I've got to say I thought Burnley played really well. I thought they were very resolute. They stopped us. They stopped us from playing. It was. I know people say it was obviously like. Excuse me. I know people would obviously say it's like 10 men behind the ball, but they did counter us a couple of times and just had that lack of cutting edge, unfortunately. But no, obviously, to lose it in the manner that they did was 2 sort of weeks in a row is really disappointing. But I've got to say, I think Kyle Walker gets his critics. I thought he was pretty good yesterday. And actually, as well, I think I think when people are looking at like Sobersley at like right back, obviously what happened to McAllister in the first half, I will obviously get Dan's perspective as well, and I'll get you guys' perspective on that challenge, and we'll talk about the red card as well. But from what I can take away from it is that yes, we had so many shots, but we were very wasteful, and we never looked like scoring up until obviously the point when Frimpong comes on, crosses that ball, and Hannibal, I don't know what he's thinking, to be honest with you. And yes, Salah getting us out of jail yet again. So, but we can't keep playing like that. We can't keep playing like that. We can't keep doing sort of the late show. But look, United used to do that a lot. They used to get late winners. So we seem to have given ourselves a little bit of doing that a little bit more. So it's nice to see, but it won't be sustainable for the whole season. But fingers crossed that we're not going to do that every single week. But 2 big games now. Obviously, Atletico Madrid on Wednesday, and then the blue shite coming to Anfield. So that'll be very interesting. But yeah, Dan, what did you make of the game yesterday? I know obviously you were there. As I said, I thought you were really unlucky to not come away with anything yesterday. But what were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I didn't expect us to get anything out of it. I think I even said on the preview that we did that I expected us to get beat. I didn't expect us to be as resolute as we were. I think that's what you need. That it sounds silly after the years we've spent in the Premier League, but these games are still a bit of a free hit in a sense when you are a promoted side. So any point against a team that you're not expecting anything from is massive. And like you say, when you're 2 minutes away, it just reminded me of the Owen Coyle days and Spurs in the semi-final of the Carling Cup, feeling absolutely devastated. But yeah, like Kate said in the chat, the handball was the massive turning point. I thought the low block was very effective. There were situations where we got forward, but again, I said to you in the preview that it's about whether we can be clinical, and we just wasn't. Likewise, at the other end, I actually must commend your defence really, because I thought defensively you were solid as well. It's just that handball really takes the shine away from such a very well orchestrated, spirited performance, and other than that, like I say, for me, Stonewall penalty. Even Hannibal knew it. I think the fact that his hands are on his head and he's just devastated. But like I say, there was a few incidents that obviously happened in the game. I mean, I don't know. Does Kirkes not realise that there's cameras all over the stadium?
Do not get me started on Kirkes, man. Do not get me started. Honestly, it was embarrassing.
Tom Daly vibe.
It was just awful. I really like the fact that Slot literally said, basically get Robbo on it immediately, because it was like he was so ruthless at that in that instance. And
especially,
I think when you
would have been a red card as well, a second bookable offence as well.
Yeah,
there were 1 or 2 questionable challenges afterwards. I think he's brought Jadon Anthony down a bit later on as like a last man that never got, and he got away with that. So obviously, I felt a bit like, to be fair, he should have received a second yellow there. So I could understand why Slot took him off, but although at first I were, why has he made a substitution in the first half? Has he got an injury? And then it's when it twigged that I was like, hold on. It's because he's, a little bit riled up since that situation, and it's affected him.
I don't think I've ever seen Michael Oliver get his yellow card as quickly as he did for Kirkes. But fair play to him, because it was an absolute shocking dive. And I was speaking to like a couple of people afterwards, and they're like, "That's not the Liverpool way. You don't go down like that. It's just there's no even contact.
No,
That's the
No.
thing as well. She just try and sort of cross it into the box. But I will ask all of you now. Karl, I'll come to you first. Leslie Ugochukwu on Alexis McAllister. Was he lucky to be on the pitch?
Yes, definitely he was very lucky to be on the pitch. When I saw the incident, I'm just thought, how did that not become a straight red card, especially the way his studs landed on McAllister? It surprised me a little bit how it was not like looked at VAR, and I was surprised at that. What surprised me, it's surprised that he shouldn't have been on the pitch after he got his second bookable offence. But I'm like, he should have been sent off at the start. And just thinking, VI would have seen that and then reviewed, checked it and then did the check. I was a bit surprised. Why was that not brought back and be reviewed to say, look, his studs was up in a way. So it's baffling how certain decisions don't get reviewed properly. And I think, like I said, the PGMOL will have to apologise for that incident because they should have dealt with that effectively after the ball went out, when the ball stopped went out of play. So to be quite honest, yeah, it's a bit surprising it never was referred back.
Dan?
I think the McAllister challenge, and I'm not even saying this with Burnley glasses. I think obviously he's got a bit of the ball first, and then the man. And I think if we look at how football's going these days, we're going to make it non-contact if that's the case.
Yeah,
that's the only incident for me. The Florian Wirtz situation, the second yellow. Yeah, I understand. I can see that one being a yellow card, but I don't.
Yeah.
I think because in quick time, when you see the challenge with McAllister, it looks 10 times worse than what it is. But you slow that down, and it's just two players going for the ball. The second one was just silly. People keep saying, I think it was Sky, and they did Ref Watch or something, and they were saying, they keep talking about, but he followed through onto the man. What do you expect him to do if he's challenging for the ball?
You've got the momentum though, haven't you? It's like if you're going for 50-50, there's so many occasions where you can't not follow through, can you? If you're going for the ball, you're
No.
just momentum. You can't stop abruptly when you've won it. So I don't know. It's difficult, but it's almost like they need to have some sort of precedent where, like, I know they used to be intent, didn't it? Rather, it depends on if you're diving for the ball and missing it, you're definitely going to be in trouble. But when you win the ball but follow through, I don't know what else you can do unless you don't go for the tackle. What can you do?
It's the fact that it's low as well. It's not a half foot or anything. It's at his ankle. He's challenging for where the ball is, and obviously the follow through is on the ankle, which, to be fair, I can't remember. In fact, well, hold on, where is it? Like, they had Jay Bother and Dermot Gallagher, and they said that he catches him on the ankle, but he's very, very low. It comes from a short distance, so it doesn't even come with that much hard of an intensity. And he thought like a yellow at the time, but then obviously said it's an attempt to go for the ball. Where's he meant to put his foot when the game's going at 100 miles an hour? However, if anything, I thought we were looked 10 times stronger after the sending off.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
I think because you've got to make that. You've got to make yourself count. Yes, we had to put 10 men behind the ball, and it was a lot harder for us because Liverpool were the possession stats don't lie. We barely saw the ball, but when we did see it, we tried to get forward. It's just one of them. It was an absolute sucker punch so late on that I think Liverpool would be, like say, very, very happy to have got the 3 points. But I think even Arne Slot said at the end of the game that we were lucky. He said we literally had 6 attackers on the field and still couldn't penetrate the defence.
Yeah.
He said, so that's something. Going forward, he said we were very lucky to get something. So if it's those moments that change games, I think look at our last 2 games now. The Jadon Anthony incident at Old Trafford. Yes, it was weak. Like I said the other day, how can you pull someone's shirt upwards but Ahmad goes downwards? It's weird.
Yeah.
And then obviously the Hannibal one. It's just like I say, Stonewaller. And I
Yeah,
can't
I think.
rumble. Just frustrated and devastated to lose
Yeah,
it so
yeah.
early.
I think my take from the decision for Postecoglou, it's I've seen people sort of compare it to obviously Tarkowski's one. Tarkowski's one, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
You clearly see there's definitely content there to like really like hurt McAllister. But this one, I agree. I think it is low. Yes, he does catch him on the follow through, but if if we're going to be sending people off for those kind of challenges, then as we're saying, it is going to become a non-contact sport, and we don't want that.
No, we don't.
So I think Yolo was correct. I think he's a little bit unlucky with his second yellow. I've got to say, I think Verts does get challenged, but I think if you look at it again, yeah. But I suppose if you're sort of diving in to get a challenge, you have to try and get the ball. I suppose he hadn't got the ball, so yeah. But no, like I think Burnley can take a lot of pride from this because I think that's now their first defeat at Turf Moor under Scott Parker.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really really positive sign, and I think if they play like that, need to get a bit of cutting edge. Need to find that bit. But if they defend like they did yesterday, I think they'll be fine. And I think there's certainly a few clubs that I look at, which we will get to, that are definitely in trouble this season.
We've got another 2 home games to come as well now. Obviously one Premier League against Forest next weekend, which they're to be got at the moment. Look, why not go out and try and get something against them at the Turf? And then obviously there's a Cardiff game in the cup. So
Yeah.
I think we need to use those last 2 games as positives that we are here. We're not just here to make up numbers. Like I keep seeing online, I've seen from a few Liverpool fan pages or just Liverpool fans saying, just relegate Burnley. They don't deserve to be at Premier the way they play
Oh
football.
Jesus!
Yeah,
Don't
I think it's
don't
when you
don't,
play
don't
these other games, Dan. Like to lose to Liverpool and to Manchester United, both on last-minute penalties, and for different reasons, different performances from the clubs. I think that's for me. It seems like Burnley are set up a bit better than they were a couple of years ago
Yeah.
when you got promoted and you were suffering
The
quite
thing
heavy
that people
defeats.
forget though is, Rich, is that football, you've got to set up. You always set up to win. Now, I'm not being
Yeah,
funny, but in these games, as a team like Burnley, you're not always going to set up to win. You're going to have to do the hard stuff and hope something comes your way.
Yeah.
Now, we tried to do that.
do you remember you
Look
beat
at Sam Allardyce, look at Sean Dash. How many
yeah,
times
you
we've
beat
got these
Liverpool
1-0 wins?
a few years ago where you got like that one break and you got the penalty. That's about 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah,
Oh, maybe
during
that's
COVID,
50
yeah.
years ago. And that's kind of what you got to do. Like if you get a point, it's a great point. If you lose 1-0, okay, it's disappointing. But if you play open and you get turned over 4-0, that's just going to affect your goal difference, your morale. And again, these kind of defeats add up, don't they? When it comes to like how you're going to survive in the league. So I think that good
I think
performance, but
fans
unlucky.
these days need to remember that there's more than just pep football out there. There's
Yeah.
ways and means of going about trying to get results. And if you have to you have to try and counteract what's been put in
Yeah,
front of you by having
you
to
got
go over the
basis.
low blocks and trying to just punt the ball forward at every time and then so you can regroup, then do that. If that gets you a point, that point could be the difference between 17th and 18th next season. And that's what I mean. It's those fine margins of the game that make huge differences come the end of the campaign. And I think people need to realise that there is more to what Guardiola has brought to this stupid league.
Well, yeah,
I
I
think
know a lot of
Pep's
people.
changing anyway because his football's not been working recently.
That's why he's trying to be a bit more, playing a little bit more long ball, a little bit. So to quite honest with you, it goes way back before Pep, but Pep is probably one of the actors, even though you could say back probably to Johan Cruyff for how he wanted to play football beautifully.
Yeah.
It's that look where we are now. So it's very much
Yeah.
like. But what Dan's got a good point. Dan's made a good point. If you play, if you can get, if the points can be a big difference between 17th, 18th place, regardless of how you play against one of the big 6 teams. If you get a point, that is that is definitely 3 points for you because
Yeah.
you're putting so much effort into to try.
100%.
Yeah, it really is.
100%.
Yeah, let's get into more in the messages in here in the comment section. Good evening, Geordie. How are the lads? Yes, good
Hi,
evening to you
Jordy.
guys. Yep. And I see Niall is in the group chat as well. Good evening, Niall. Yeah, we're all doing well. Thank you
Right
for
now.
joining us as well too. And Kate said it was a disappointing result. It added time, to be fair, and handball cost us massively as well. Paul Graham, our Sunderland fan resident, he said he's still buzzing after the Sunderland point at Palace cracking point as
Very
well.
good
Yeah,
point.
we'll talk more about it
Very
as
good point.
well. So yeah, it's good to see that. And good evening, Michael. We are well, thank you for joining us here. And do you know what? Niall's made a good point on here actually, and it's what happened yesterday between Kilmarnock and Celtic. Just look at the Celtic game yesterday. Celtic got a pen for handball. What are you meant to do with this handball rule? He's got a point. It's like with the VR decision.
That
Yeah,
honestly, that is one of the worst decisions I've seen all season.
yeah,
Literally, we were told at the start of the season that if the ball ricochets off your leg onto your hand, it's never handball.
Yeah.
So why on earth have they given that penalty? Honestly, it baffles me. And the fact that John Beaton was actually sent to the monitor as well is ridiculous. So I feel for every Kelly fan because they deserved a point yesterday.
they did. They certainly
And
did, Doug.
self.
Yeah, they certainly did.
Mhm.
I think they played very well against Celtic yesterday. I'm just
Yeah.
surprised. I'm just shocked the way it happened. How the Celtic got a penalty because of that. Yeah,
I want to give a shout
Although I
out while
think
we're talking Scottish football, just to some guy. I absolutely love him due to my football manager career a long time ago. But Lawrence Shankland, big up, man.
hey, it's been good for me. It's been a better week. At least the weekend was a little bit better for me because I did see my glorious Jam Tarts beat Rangers for the first time at Ibrox since 2012. So I'm a lot more happy with that. So over the other team
and
that I just saw.
can I just say that Celtic's kitman needs to do better with Kelechi Iheanacho's second name because
Yeah.
it's clearly clearly
No,
spelt
he
wrong.
needs to wait. He needs to look at. He needs to have better contact lenses, mate. That's what he needs.
I would agree with that, but yeah, I totally agree with what Niall says. It was a joke of a decision, but obviously Celtic get the points in the end, but very very fortunate.
Yep. Karl has messaged in from Twitch to say hey to Douglas as well. Kate
Right,
said,
Clara.
"Yep." Kate said, "We are still early season. I can't think you have any guess what will be just yet." Yeah, none of us don't at the moment. Not even the
Way too
promoted.
early, Kate.
It's way
Way
too
too
early.
early. But I think the one thing I can take away from the first four games is that Wolves, West Ham look like they're the teams that could easily fall into the bottom three
Yeah.
Yeah.
at the moment. So it's a long season, but see what happens. But yeah, we'll move on.
Absolutely. We'll move on. I'm going to look at one of the games on Saturday. I'm going to start off at the West London derby. Brentford got a late draw against Chelsea, drawing 2-2, where Fabio Cannavaro scored in the 93rd minute after Brentford took the lead through Kevin Shard in the 35th minute until in the second half, Chelsea did score 2 goals from Cole Palmer and Mosa Caicedo. But guys, I have to say, the set pieces works again for Brentford again to get the point this weekend. And was that disappointing for Chelsea to not get the 3 points?
100%.
I think. Well, obviously, Rich will be pleased because Garnacho lost his man. So I know that Chelsea fans will have to get used to that. But I've seen Chelsea fans complaining about this Carvalho goal. Is it just me, or can you not be offside from a throw?
No, I think it's like the flick on. I think the throw you can be offside, that's fine. But the flick on, there's a
Yeah.
person that's in an offside position that they say is interfering. I think that I've seen seen it a few times, and I think that unless you're, I think you can like see that this is generally ignored a lot of the time whether someone's interfering. Unless they're blatantly interfering, and again, it's like one of these laws where if you're not interfering, what you're doing there. So there's maybe a bit of a grievance from Chelsea, which you can kind of understand, but I don't think it's a massive error. I don't know what other people think, but I can see why people are saying that. He kind of moves towards the ball. I don't think he gets particularly close to the ball. I don't know if
Yeah,
it stops the goal, the ball goes across the other side. So I don't know.
yeah. It's just quite.
It is a very, very interesting decision, but I think what I can sort of take away from it, Brentford deserved a draw. Definitely, they were really, really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
The first goal in particular, Jordan Henderson still got it. I mean, that pass he played to Kevin Schade was fantastic. Um, I've got to say as well, I know that people are obviously like talking about also why Kelleher went to Brentford, but I think you can kind of see yet the game at the weekend that Kelleher definitely does deserve a number one spot. And I think he showed at the weekend why he's a really top goalkeeper because that save from Tyreek George, it's low, it's hard. It honestly, it was going to go in the bottom corner, but Kelleher managed to get a sort of a hand away from it. It was a fantastic save. Could do nothing about Cole Palmer and Moises Caicedo goals though.
yeah,
But I think you've got to say Brentford for me they're showing signs of like real determination, real fight. I mean that's obviously another really good draw against Chelsea. They've obviously beaten Villa this season as well. If they can make the G Tech a bit of a fortress, I think they'll be okay. I really do.
Yeah, I think people you have to look at their team and think it's been gutted over the summer. They lost the manager, lost the goalkeeper, lost Mbeumo, lost Wissa. They've lost essentially they've
lost
lost key
Norgard to
Norgard. They've lost
Arsenal.
key players, and I think they've rebuilt by buying cheaper players that we're maybe not so familiar with and getting Henderson in as well. But I think people thinking they're going under pressure, and I guess having a bit of stability, having some of these players in the team for multiple years, having a manager that's been there for a few years, they did have some stability until this summer. So I think they've done well. Like these results are
Mhm.
good results. Like a late equaliser against Chelsea is good. After that, Chelsea will be gutted, but they didn't win that game. But again, I think it shows that Brentford, early days, but I think Brentford has surprised people because I think a lot of people had them in a massive relegation fight. And again, it's early days, but picking up
Yeah,
points and actually looking a bit more um, like they used to is actually quite positive because it could have been a disaster at the start of the season after losing all those players.
yeah, absolutely. Especially with Keith Andrews was what was the bookie's favorite to get the sack. To quite honest, yeah, and that looked like that. It was surprising. It was more. It became more Nuno, so it's taking the less pressure off Brentford because they're going to want to stick by an unexperienced cup manager who hasn't even managed anywhere before he got the job this summer. So it is interesting with that one. But Dan, also, do you think Chelsea needs to be better with their squad rotation, especially now they're going to be playing in the Champions League? Do they need to be better with their squad rotation for this season?
100%. They've got a B team, C team. I mean, there's more letters of the alphabet at Chelsea that they could field different squads with how many Lawneys they've let out and in. It's ridiculous. I think they need to. The fact that these players they've got that many. How are they going to get that game time? How are they going to get that team cohesion? How are they going to get it to work? They missed out on a chance to go top of the league on Saturday night.
Yeah.
A massive chance for them. Um, I think Maresca's going to do. He's over the course of the season. Maresca is going to do some very good things for Chelsea. But I think just now they need to find a winning formula. They need to find something that just sits and gets it right. If you keep chopping and changing, you're not going to get that consistency. Fair play to Brentford, by the way, as well. I mean, what is it about teams that play in red and white that just love to score from throw-ins? I mean, we had Stoke do it with Rory Black. Like you say, Carvalho, I think, what was it, seventh goal Brentford have scored from a throw-in since the
Yeah,
start of last season.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolute madness. Absolute madness. But again, I was one of those that wrote off Keith Andrews, and not just because he used to play for Blackburn. But yeah, it's massive. It's absolutely massive for them. And again, goes back to what I was saying regarding if Burnley had got a point off Liverpool, it's these results that will help Brentford in that relegation scrap if they are in and around it come the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. It could help them with this season as well
Can,
for the relegation.
can I just say as well, I'm not sure that Garnacho signing is going to work out. Not convinced. And he goes back to Old Trafford at the weekend. I wonder what kind of reception he'll get, Rich.
Not great, I think. To be honest, I
Like my
don't think.
Wi-Fi, Doug.
Yeah, I'd have thought that with this one, like Manchester United, it's the player and Manchester United should both handle the situation with Garnacho better. I don't think the club would take a lot of credit out of it. Garnacho personally won't take a lot of credit from the way he
No.
responded at the end of the season. But no, I think this one was one where I think Chelsea fans were quite negative when Garnacho was linked. Now they got him, they're probably trying to find positives. I think that fundamentally, like Garnacho, he's got attributes to his game, but he's quite young. He's only just turned 21, so I think people are already either writing him off, hyping him up. He's still got a long way to go. So I wouldn't really be I wouldn't be too down on him. But it's up to him. He's got for me, he's got to be a bit more professional and focused on football rather than the nonsense that he was doing at United. And he was probably lucky to get as many games as he did to start with. I think maybe that inflated his ego a little bit. So no, I think he's going to be part of the rotation at Chelsea. Maybe that's a good thing for him. He's not a regular first team player. He's going to have to step up to make sure he maintains a place. But I don't think Chelsea have necessarily improved their squad. They seem to have rotated, but have they actually improved their squad this season? They seem to be players leave, players join, but I don't know if the quality is actually going to improve. I think they'll still be fourth or fifth, but I don't know whether at some point they're going to have to either stop selling, not stop selling players, but just look at are they actually buying players that are improving their team, or are they like for like? Because I don't think Garnacho and
Yeah.
Gittins are actually better than the players they've sold.
The question is mainly because of the Blue Company owns Strasbourg, so it's easy to just ship them over to there. It's what they've done with they were trying to do it with Julian Asensio, who's probably was good is going to go there and then come back to Chelsea, and it just feels like they're just doing this for profit rather than just do they really fit into the Chelsea squad? Being like for like what you said.
Yeah, I think the Buonanotte inclusion in that Chelsea team at the weekend was a real surprise. I didn't see.
He did look good.
I didn't see that.
He did look good. That's why he got replaced at half time because
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's a really good point for Brentford. But yeah, Chelsea will be kicking themselves after being 2-1 up with about 5 minutes to go, and then obviously the long throw from Shada to Ayer, and then obviously Carvalho at the back post. So no, very good point for Brentford, and could be very important by the end of the season.
It could be very important indeed, though. It could be. Let's move on to the other London derby game on Saturday night. Spurs beating 10-man West Ham 3-0. Goals from Pape Matar, Lucas Bergo, and Mickey Van der Ven. In the second half, Thomas Suchek was sent off after 54 minutes, and it was a straight red card. Guys, we know about West Ham's issues, but coming to Spurs, it'll look more better on the Thomas Frank, especially with what was been going on off behind the scenes at the club with Daniel Levy leaving, being leaving and stuff. Do we see a bit more resolute Spurs for the first time this season, especially the way they played, particularly in the second half, to get the ball from Romero to Lucas Bergo was actually phenomenal. Actually,
yeah, I think Spurs look really good. They've got a very good balance in their team now, especially with I think the signing of Xavi Simons is an unbelievable signing. How they've managed to get him over the likes of
even to pick
Chelsea
as well, because he was linked with Chelsea most of the
Yeah.
summer as well.
So obviously, obviously wanted to game time, but no, Spurs look really, really good. I've got to say the decision to disallow that first goal, Romero's goal, is an absolute joke. I didn't think Jared Gillett had his best game, to be honest
No.
with you. I think he got the red card spot on, because I think that challenge from Souček, and you could actually see what he actually had happened, because obviously Paulinho's sock had a big hole in it. But I think if we're being honest with ourselves, I really worry for West Ham. Barring Jared Bowen and Lucas Paqueta, they don't really have much quality in that team. And if I'm being honest, I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I think Potter's on borrowed time.
Yeah,
Big time.
he is now big time. Now he's on borrowed time, and I have to say, yeah, I think because I looked at the goal that was chalked off, I was surprised because it didn't start with Romero. You know, I think it was Kyle Walker Peters. There was an instant behind, I think, with
Yeah,
Fernandez and Van der Vet, and then it led to that.
yeah.
The collided. So it was a bit surprising that that goal was disallowed. I was a bit surprised.
It's a shocking decision, absolutely shocking decision. But it didn't stop Spurs. Yeah, that Bergvall goal. Wow. I mean, the cross to basically like cross it into the box, and Bergvall is not the tallest, but
No,
how he managed to get that height on it was absolutely fantastic. And also Pape Sarr is another one who obviously got it as well, and then Mickey van de Ven, who I thought was absolutely outstanding in the whole game. He obviously got the third, but yeah, I mean, I'll ask you guys this: are we worried about West Ham now? Because I think a lot was obviously said in the summer about the fact that they didn't really get the players that they wanted. Obviously, obviously towards the end of the window they did, but is there a feeling now that West Ham could be potentially dragged into a relegation battle?
I think I like the guys say in a second, but I
I
think
think it
it's
looks that way, doesn't it?
yeah.
I know again, like we're talking about Spurs. I'm not surprised Spurs look a lot better this season. I think Thomas Frank is a huge upgrade on
Yeah,
Ange. I think watching if you watch the Europa League final, Ange changed the way he played to make them much harder to play against. If he'd have adopted that stance in a lot of the Premier League games, Spurs would have finished much harder. I think he had some like weird principles he stuck to. He shouldn't have stuck to, and I think he deserved to get sacked based on what he did in the Premier League. 22 defeats. But that Spurs team should never be finishing that low. So I think Thomas
no,
Frank was a massive upgrade tactically and how they and again they've made some good signings. I think it's a, a really bad day for West Ham. I think they'd struggle with 11 men when they get a player sent off. It's only going to go one way. But looking at I think the league table, I wasn't surprised that West Ham would. I thought they'd struggle this season. I maybe was expecting a bit more from them because looking at them, I think the way they're shipping goals, I think they've conceded the most goals so far in the league. That's always a bit of a worry, isn't it? Particularly like when you said, where's the quality coming from up front? Like
yeah.
where they're getting the goals from? The fact they're shipping a lot of goals every game is a big concern. So yeah, I'd be concerned if I was a West Ham fan, but again, there's a few teams in and around there, so if they can get things together, but I think it might be under a different manager if things carry on too much longer.
Mm,
Very much, yeah. Especially Graham Potter's been on borrowed time. Since he joined the club last season, it just feels like it doesn't fit right. Especially how the transfer policy is especially because I think when you have someone like David Sullivan David Sullivan who's the director of football in charge, your owner in charge of it, it's like the equivalent of me watching the because I'm big NFL. It's like the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones, is being the GM since he bought the team, and look where they are now. And you're making some wrong decisions. It just feels like
yeah,
it's the club and between the relationship between the club and the fans has soured so much since that Europa League, since they won the Europa Conference League 2 seasons ago. It sours so much, and then that they now reap what they sow. So this is now a huge issue for the Hammers to deal with this situation if they have to sack another manager in the space of what nearly 6 months ago. So it's a
Yeah.
huge worry.
Yeah, and you look at their attacking intent, they literally are doing pretty much what trying to achieve what Spurs have done for years, which is relying on that one man to bail them out the crap.
yeah,
Relying on Jared Bowen to just provide and score goals, hoping that James Ward-Prowse will get a free kick, and they just these little situations like that. That's not going to keep you up in the Premier League, unfortunately.
No.
You've got the likes of Nicholas Fulkrug up front. Who's next? You used to have Callum Wilson, Danny Ings. You've not even got them now.
Yep.
So who steps in? It's really really difficult, and I feel for Graham Potter in a way because he's sort of been dealt a shit hand with what he's got, but then he's had a window
yeah.
to put it right. and he's not been able to. So it's almost like there's an element of feeling sorry for him, but there's also an element of, well, that's what you paid to. You paid to get results. You paid to do a job. You paid to get the right people in. You haven't. It's your name on the chopping block, unfortunately.
Can I ask you guys
Yeah.
this and we just have yes or no? Do you think the scene after Graham Potter had the Chelsea job, his ceiling is now he hit the ceiling so much is it's dipping so badly since he got the Chelsea job? Yes or no?
100% yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Should have stayed at Brighton.
well, yeah, exactly as well. We'll come to Brighton in a bit. Just go to some comments in the section. LFC Monster, little Chelsea full version of property. Yeah, that's a good point actually. Yeah,
That's a very good point.
yeah,
But evening, LFC Monster. Hope you're well.
yeah. And also, you're right about the first goal. Absolute joke decision. Yeah, you know, V gets pushed into Walker Peters. Yeah, that did get out for some reason. Yeah, that was surprising. That never got a count for some reason. And Michael coming in as well. What's worrying about West Ham? The simple goals against them. 3 against Sunderland on the open day season. 5 against Chelsea.
Yeah.
And now 3 against Tottenham. It's a huge worry completely for the Hammers with how they shipping.
3 against Wolves as well in the
Yeah.
Carabao Cup.
Yep, 3 against Wolves in the Carabao Cup as well. Let's go on to St James's Park. Newcastle got the first win of the season for the debutant Nick Voltemad, Johnny's debut. And actually, guys, the way the cross came in, he knew he had to lean back with the trajectory on the ball, and he had to work so hard to to place that ball in the net. Was that a better performance from Newcastle to get the first win after what's been going on, and with Isak now gone, now they can focus more into the future going forward? I'll let you guys. One of you come into that.
Yeah, I think with this one, like I said on my own channel, I'm starting to regret it now. I said in the transfer window that we'd finished above Newcastle. And I think when Newcastle started off badly, I was like, okay, we got a good chance. But no, I think Newcastle, they had a difficult transfer window, didn't they? Because every target they were linked to seemed to go somewhere else. In the end, they did buy a couple of players. And I think that you look at that and think, well, when you sell Isak, who's been the best player, I suppose the key is going to be like, do they actually manage to keep the other players eventually, like Bruno Guimaraes, where he stay? And I think that you look at it and think, well, this is a key season because for me, the squad had to improve, at least be more like have more depth because the Champions League, you got 8 games, another couple of games, so you got to start try and take pressure off you in the league by trying to get some results. So I think they'll be relieved that they actually got to play Wolves this early in the season because I think Wolves are like they've been dreadful. Again, it's probably one of the best performances from Wolves, but also probably a positive from Newcastle that the striker they did eventually sign after trying to sign about 5 others that has got off the mark quite quickly. So I think there's a few positives with this one. I think it's probably going to be, I think, more relief than excited about the performance. But I think it's just going to be one where I think it's important to get some points on the board now because it's been a difficult start for Newcastle. I think I'm still thinking that Newcastle might find it more difficult this season because I think the amount of Premier League, the amount of Champions League games, it's just so much, isn't it? Like if you've got 8 group games and probably there's a good chance you play a playoff. An extra 10 games does put a stretch in your squad. I don't think Newcastle. We saw last season if Isak got injured, they did hit foot. It caused them some issues. So for someone to come in and step up is going to be quite a difficult one. But I think over the season, Newcastle aren't the sort of squad that can lose any key players. And for me, it's like if they're trying to rotate, effectively it means they're going to be weakening their team. I think for some Premier League games, which might make it more difficult. I still think it's going to be a difficult one, isn't it? Do Newcastle focus on trying to retain top 4 if it looks unlikely, or they focus trying to go further in the competition in the Champions League? I don't know. It's going to be a difficult season because I think the way things have changed, you almost need to have a huge squad to
It's
compete.
finding that right balance. It's finding that right balance as well, which is especially because when Newcastle went back in the Champions League 2 seasons ago, they were in a 6-game group stage, with with AC Milan, PSG. Who
Yeah,
was
it's
the other?
tricky, isn't it?
Yeah,
Do you think it's tougher for Premier League teams than other teams? Because I would say if you're in Spain, you've got Barcelona, Real Madrid. Let's be respectful and say there's going to be some games in that league that are a bit easier than team. No, and whereas if you go to the Premier League, you're not going to go to teams that are considered lower down the league. Crystal Palace, you're not going to get an easy game. Burnley, we saw you're not going to get an easy game. I think the Premier League is tougher because the teams that are mid-table, the budgets are actually probably as good as like the third place team in Spain. And we saw
Well,
last
Atletico
season.
Madrid is the third place team, which is probably maybe some top six clubs have a bigger budget than Atletico Madrid, precisely. So
I
you know,
think it's trickier, and I think the quality of the mid-table teams in the Premier League is up there with like the third best team, fourth best team in Spain and Germany. So I think it's tough for Newcastle, and they'll be relieved with the win. But I think a tough season. If they want to do well in the Champions League, it's going to be tricky. So I think they're going to suffer a little bit.
mm,
Yeah,
They've got
absolutely agree.
Barcelona coming up as well, haven't they? I think.
yeah, big game,
Yeah.
Barcelona, especially
Exactly, you've got
Barcelona.
to put your
Spurs,
best team out against
Chelsea.
Barcelona, haven't you? That's why it's difficult.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with what you were saying, Rich. I think it's going to be a really difficult season for Newcastle, but yeah, Voltemada off the mark, which is always a good thing to see. And I think he scored a lot of goals for like the under 21s in Germany as well, and obviously scored a lot for
He did well. He did
Stuttgart
well.
last
He did
season.
well. I think it was at the under 21 Euros as well. This as well.
Yeah. So no, I think like no, I mean Newcastle Barcelona, that's some game anyway. Um, but Newcastle fans will be just enjoying the fact they're back in the Champions League, I think. And yeah, I mean some of the teams to come to St James's Park. I mean, Barcelona was like the first one. I mean that's just unbelievable. If you're a very young Geordie, this is a night to remember. You're playing one of the best teams world football in Barcelona.
Yeah, best team, but
So
but not got a fucking stadium at the moment, which they're playing in the mini stadium right next to the ground. So
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I actually don't know when the new camp's actually going to be sort of like completely like done to
well,
be.
for what I have been hearing, Doug, and this is for me, if I was being a basketball player, the problem is they tried to break the laws to get the license sorted out to try to get back to the new camp, but because they might now they might postpone some of the home games in the Champions League. They might have to go back to the Olympic Stadium at some point. But I think there's a concert with Post Malone at some point next around this month or next month. I think after that, there's no concert, there's nothing at Venice, so they'll have to look at try to play the rest of the games at home at the Olympic Stadium. So that is where things happen at the moment.
Yeah, but no, huge win for Newcastle. For Wolves, I I said it. I said it a couple of weeks ago. I'm really worried for them. Like barring Strand Larson, again, just a bit like West Ham. There's a lack of quality there. So Dan, I think you'll be a little bit buoyed by what I've got to say, but Wolves are definitely in the mix for relegation, I would say.
Yeah, I've got to put them in there. Like we said about West Ham, we said about Wolves. Like I say, might not get 17th, but at least 18th guaranteed.
Yeah, very much guaranteed as well. Go on to the Emirates. Big Ange first game as not a Forest manager ended in a bit of a disaster after losing to Arsenal 3-0. 2 goals from Martin Zubimendi. The first goal was quartered, and Victor Gyokeres scored it as well. And I have to say, guys, do you worry about what the situation with Forest after with Nuno was getting the sacked after he came out with the comments? We knew that it was going to happen at some point. Big guys coming in a couple of days before a game. I know there was rumors some of the Forest players were a bit unhappy with the sacking of Nuno, but in a way, guys, it's a huge season now for Big Ange, especially when he just got out. He lost his job at Spurs early in the summer. He's now shortly back into a new club. Is this so much lot of work to do, especially now they're in the Europa League as well as trying to compete in the league?
Can I be honest? I think Marinakis wasn't ruthless enough. I think he should have got rid of him the minute he basically said about the relationship, because that's one thing you should never say as a football manager, is like a relationship with an owner. And I mean, you asked the question, do I think this is really problematic for Forest? I've got to be honest, I think they could fall down the league. I really, really do. It's a bit like Newcastle sort of situation because they've obviously got Europa League. But I think if you actually look at the whole sort of situation between Forest and Palace, I would honestly say this, but Palace have got much better games, I think, in the Conference League than Forest do in the Europa
Yeah.
League. As simple as that. And actually, when you look at it, you know, has Marinakis appointed Ange basically because he's half Greek, or the fact is that he won the Europa League? Now, for me, I think it's because he's half Greek. that's just my way of things. But um, I honestly think Nuno could have easily been gone. Maybe last. I think the minute he was basically going to be gone was the minute Marinakis walked onto the pitch against Leicester City and had
Yeah.
that go at Nuno, because I thought, yeah, that's basically it.
For a big guy like him, he run that so quick. I was like, how the hell did he get on there as quick as this?
Yeah,
I still think to this day,
but
even with me being 80, 90s, I'm like, I can still run quick. I'm like, how the hell his big self he got onto that pitch? I do not know. But the way, like you said,
for a big guy like that to to come on the pitch like that was yeah, very, very surprising. But no, like we're obviously not talking about Forest. Arsenal, really good win. I've got to say, Madueke and Eze looked really good. Zubimendi looked really, really good as well.
yeah,
Bit of a surprise when they dropped Declan Rice, I would have to say. But I think when you look at Arsenal, I think, look, they've got a very, very good team. Gyökeres is obviously finding the back of the net. I said, and I don't know if anyone else agrees with me with this, but Gyökeres is that kind of that flat track bully where he'll probably score against like the sort of the so-called lesser clubs, but he'll struggle against the so-called sort of big clubs. So
yeah,
obviously they got Manchester City at the weekend as well. So
It gives them some balance, though, doesn't it? Like different style. When we had Lukaku
mm,
at United, people were quite critical of Lukaku. Lukaku was scored against teams near the bottom of the league, and as soon as Lukaku went, we struggled against low block. So I think if you have a striker that's going to be good against those teams, that it gives Arsenal a dimension they didn't have last season. So Arsenal last season, they weren't really in a title race, but they did draw way too many games. And do you look at Forest? I think Forest are going to have an issue this season. I'm not sure Ange is the best manager based on what I saw last season. That Forest
no.
got success by being incredibly difficult to score against, very good defensively. They did play fantastically on the break. Elanga's ridiculous pace, and for me, it was quite disciplined way of playing. That sometimes it was literally defending for most of the game. Remember a game quite early on against Liverpool last season. They were very defensive. They took their chances. I'm just wondering if Ange plays anything remotely like he did with Spurs. I think it's going to be a long season for Forest. I don't think they've got the. I, I think they need to probably stick to what they're good at. Their squad was very good at what they were doing last season. I'm not
mm,
sure that if they try and deviate too much from that, I think results will suffer. Throw in Europa League games again is lots of games, lots of travel for a team that don't have incredibly deep squad beyond the best players. I think it could be a long season for them as well.
And as well, there's Carabao Cup action as well. I think they're at
yeah.
Swansea on tomorrow evening. Dan, Morgan Gibbs White, do you think there's a bit of a situation there? I don't think his head's right in it. I actually think he wanted to leave.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't know. I feel like with the way the situation went, maybe there is a little bit of truth to what Nuno said. And as much as your manager should not be coming out and saying stuff like that, I mean, say no more. Scott Parker, when he was Bournemouth manager, spoke about how didn't get investment, didn't get this after the thrashing off Liverpool when he was
Yeah.
there, got sacked the next day. You know, Forest dragged it out. It wouldn't surprise me if Morgan Gibbs White asked for reassurances of certain things beforehand. You know what we've seen with the Isaac situation, whether there's a gentleman's agreement sort of thing in there. Who knows? But yeah, it seemed like desperation from Marinakis. Did that contract offer?
Especially the way he was standing next to him in that after he signed that contract in that video, it just did.
Yeah,
It just felt like a
It looked like
hostage
it looked
situation.
like a bloody hostage situation.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was very
yeah.
weird.
It was really, really strange. I think Morgan Gibbs White has basically been told, "Shut up, we'll pay you whatever. Just play, get us through to January, and if wherever we are, we'll see at that point." But I don't know. It was so the way it were all put together. I don't like Marinakis anyway. I think he's an absolute tool. So I'm with Nuno on that. But I just think that there's ways of going around doing things. Don't get me wrong, he's brought some brilliant times to Forest fans and they'll absolutely lap it up like no tomorrow. The move for Ange, nah, I think it's bad. Like I say, there's a friendship there. There's something,
Yeah.
it just Marinakis to me screams bullying tactics, and Morgan Gibbs White is probably feeling like just get me through to January, just get me through, and then hopefully I can just say, look, I want to leave. I've done what I've done for you. It's not going right. My head's not in it.
It's safe to say, Rich, I don't think Nuno will be out of football for much longer.
No, I don't see him much longer as well. I think, I think I would be surprised if it's going to be someone like, I don't know, a Leeds or West Ham. It's debatable, so he will get another job, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, good one for Arsenal. As I said, they got Man City coming up. Am I right in saying, Dan, you've got Forest at the weekend?
Yeah. We've got Forest this weekend at the Turf, so should be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be fun as well. Let's go to the Vitality Stadium. And Bournemouth grind out their quality to grind out a result against Brighton, winning 2-1. Alex Scott scored his first goal at home for the club as well. Karen Matoma scored in the 40th minute, and Semenyo scored for the penalty after Evanson was brought down by Jean-Paul Van Hecke. Can I say, Rich, looking at Bournemouth, they lost a lot of the back four, and they've done so well
Yeah,
to
they
be.
lost most of the back four, didn't they? Like they
Yeah,
lost key players.
yeah. But do you give credit for their good start to the season, despite the lot of changes in that back four? And they brought some really good players. Keeping Semenyo as well was vital. In the deadline day.
Yeah, Semenyo's been like fantastic this season. He's one of the best players. We're linked to him, I think, and they priced him they valued him at 70 million. And I think based on last season's form, you'd think, okay, a bit pricey. Now, he's been top quality. I think didn't he start the first day of the season, 2 goals against Liverpool, and he's pretty much
Yeah.
been playing fantastic. And again, I think a lot of people were wondering how they're going to they lost Kirkers, Houston, and another defender as well. So they lost a lot of key players. And I think a lot of people were looking at some of the mid-table teams like Bournemouth, like Brentford, thinking they're going to drop off. And I think we're just seeing that now these teams, they're not where they are by accident. They do recruit quite well. They are well set up. They lose a couple of players, they're not going to suddenly fall apart. They're well structured, and I think it's again it's a good win because Brighton are a tough team to play against, and on the back of like Brighton beating City, you look at this thinking, can Brighton get some momentum as well? So I think a good win for Bournemouth, and I think if they got 3 out of 4 wins, and the team they didn't win was the Liverpool game where it was 2-2 till quite near the end. So they probably had maybe there's the surprise team so far after 4 games. That I think that's probably fair to say. I think they surprised me a lot. I mean,
Yeah,
the old ones were they're not they are there is fine margins like their goal difference is +1, but they've got 3 wins. But no, they're for me. I don't think it's sustainable finishing that being that high. But certainly, I think they're online to kind of finish at least where they have been recent years. So I
yeah.
think if you're a Bournemouth fan, you'd be pretty happy with what you've seen so far.
Absolutely, especially when you lose Zabrini, Quata, who going to Brentford, Zabrini going to PSG, Karaka's going to Liverpool, Jaden Anthony going to Burnley, they've got a huge profit on those players. But the players that brought in, Adrian Trufa, Bafo Dikate, and also Milosevic from Red Side Belgrade, it looks like, like I said, the recruitment is so good. They just know when to sell at the right time, especially, you know, you look at this team thinking, can this team with the smallest ground in the league, can they really now compete to get into the smaller European competitions? And that's the always good question we need to have if they can keep this consistency up.
I think Ariola's done a fantastic job. I mean, let's not forget he was close to the chop until he beat Burnley and they went on a run a couple of years back. You know, if I think, in fact, the owners were there that day, ready to basically call it a day if Burnley beat them, and Burnley being the gift that keeps on giving, just to let them do what they needed to do. But they have come on leaps and bounds. She said they've got one of the smallest stadium in the Premier League. They've quietly grown in the background. Like you said, they've sold at the right time. They've managed to get decent recruitment in. I do like Bournemouth and the way they sort of set themselves up as well. And I'm going back to like the days of having big man Steve Fletcher up top and things. They're an old school unit, but they don't just they've managed to adapt old school principles into modern day football, and I think that's something that stands them in really good stead. Like you said, they've lost a lot, but they've made good money on them. Let's not forget who is it? Is it Hyson, however you say his name, that went to Real Madrid?
Did he go to Real Madrid in the end?
Yeah, and these players and moves that you think sound like something from FIFA. Bournemouth to Real Madrid. It's like what?
I think we look. A lot of Manchester United fans were talking about him, saying he's a top quality player. Looking at young centre backs and left-sided centre backs as well. No, if he's top quality, I think maybe the thing about this is because the rumours were, or maybe I think Real Madrid might have signed something like some agreement like a while ago before the transfer window. Maybe they
like
had
a
time to
gentleman's
adapt.
agreement, because that's what I did
I
feel
think
like
they knew it was coming.
Because, like I said, I'm surprised how Juventus sold him to Bournemouth, and then look at where Juventus of thinking he would have been good for a Juventus team, especially because I think he was on loan at Roma the season before that as well. So it just surprised how much Bournemouth got and got a good chunk of the transfer outlay that they paid for him, which was what £30 million. So yeah, really good deal on that profit for them.
I wonder if they are actually going to invest in their stadium at some point.
They are. So the good news is they have announced they are going to expand the stage to 20,000. So that is happening. That the plans are now in place for that now, which is good. So they will be staying at the Vitality Stadium for the long run, and also they got the fantastic training ground as well. So I think So I think they're going to grow the stadium up to 20,000, which we'll see in the next coming years as well. So a really good investment from Bill Foley, and Michael B. joining to invest in a club like Bournemouth as part of that structure of the ownership model that he has with Laurent and other clubs.
Yeah, really good going forward.
Yeah,
I think the thing is as well with Brighton, it surprises me that their fan base is so divided over Hursley.
Yeah, I sent you that thing on yesterday about from
I was like what? Because let's be honest, Fabian Hursley is one of the youngest managers in the league. He is 2 years younger than me.
Yeah, he's 2 years younger than us. That's a bit surprising, actually. Yeah. God.
That is really, really strange to say that, but no, I think I thought Brighton were unlucky against Bournemouth. I want to say the penalty decision again because I'm kind of looking at that penalty decision and I think there's definitely contact. I think it's the fact that Van Hecke takes his leg away. And I think it's just wait if Nielsen's just kind of waiting for that leg. So I'm not sure if that was a spot kick, but obviously Semenyo took it, and nice for Alex Scott to get his first goal as well because he's been another one that seems to be on the radar recently. So very very good good finish from Alex Scott, but.
It made Annie a lot happy to see his two former players from Bristol City scored this past weekend.
I bet it did. They're flying by the way, Bristol City. So yeah, no, a very good one for Bournemouth, and they welcome Eddie Howe back to the vitality on Sunday, so that'll be interesting.
It will be interesting as well. Going to the couple of messages in the comment section as well. AFC obviously thought were poor, but we made them look poor on from Arsenal's point of view. Mr. Me Be High with Football Chat, big upside. Danny's happy to be back with a very good side. So you can stay up this time, bro. And he said both are going well again. It's true. And like you said, you and Brentford, you and Bournemouth are similar. What you said, Brighton, we lose big, we still managed to get replaced with and quality with fantastic coach too. Rich, question for you from Mr. Beef himself, behalf himself. United
I'm
said
getting
they
lucky.
won't sack Amorim. Do you agree or do you want him gone?
Do I agree or do I want him gone? Okay, I'll say this. Like, to start with, I think it's inevitable he's going to go based on what I've seen. Like 31 games, 31 points. We're seeing a poor season. Do I agree or want him gone? I'd probably, at this point, if you offered me a different manager, I would probably take it and say because I don't see it ending any other way. Like when we're talking about this is my reasoning. Okay, we're not talking about 3 or 4 games. We're talking about over 30, and if you consider European games as well, over 40 matches and pre-season. How are you coming to the conclusion that Luke Shaw starts in this team? Bruno Fernandes plays as a defensive midfielder effectively and you bench our best midfielder in Kobe Mainu, um, uh, you can't be making these sort of mistakes. And then you substitute Maguire on for Yoro when we're chasing the game. I mean, what can you say? If this is what you're doing after being in charge for 1 year, where'd you go from there? Like, if you're the owner, what do you think? Right, we bought these players. What is going on? And again, he's termed a head coach. So I saw some message on Twitter because everybody's obviously angry about this, where people are saying, look, the coaches we need to sack those. Ruben Amorim is head coach. That's his job title. He's in charge of coaching. So what we're seeing on the pitch, ultimately, he's responsible for everything that's on the pitch. That's his job. He's like coaching. He's setting up the tactics. And we know that managers or coaches are very controlling. So things that happen on the pitch are pretty much the players aren't deciding what they do. This comes down from the coaching and what they want players to do. Because if they don't do what they want them to do, we could see last season Amorim shouting at them the same way Arteta's shouting and pointing. If they're not doing what the coach or manager wants, we'll know about it. So I think inevitably, like, I want to see Manchester United play much better football. And I usually back managers, but I just haven't seen anything. We haven't won 2 games in a row. Like we haven't had back-to-back wins
Yeah.
since manager. I mean, I'm not a negative fan, but there's nothing to hold on to. That's the issue. I've got nothing to kind of think. Where are the positives? Because if they are, I must be missing them.
Did I see rumours that he's been linked with Benfica?
I did see that. I thought, okay, Benfica, let's talk.
Oh god, yeah.
Well,
Not
you know who the
no,
Benfica managers are for them.
I think Ruben Amorim is the same as Potter going to Chelsea. I think Ruben Amorim's gone to a much bigger club in a more difficult environment where maybe the challenge is a bit underestimated if you're not involved in it, and potentially for a big pay rise. And I think deep down he might be thinking, it was quite nice in Sporting. We used to like win trophies that and I just wonder whether it's something that might have been too big a jump too soon. Like maybe he's thinking that I'm not blaming Ruben Amorim. He's like got his idea of what he thinks works. I don't think he's got other plans, and I think it's on our owners to actually have maybe done our recruitment a little bit better and spoken to him and said, no, if we this is the argument I think if you think that to get Ruben Amorim's system to work or what he wants to do requires buying 15 players, and that's what it seems to be talking about. Like particularly midfield players, maybe 3 or 4 more of those wing backs, particular other players. It just doesn't make any sense. Like in any sort of form, it doesn't make any sense to sign a manager that doesn't actually fit the squad you got in any way. It's not even close that in any way. So poor recruitment, I think. And unfortunately for Ruben Amorim, he probably should have said no. And
yeah, absolutely as well. Mark has asked you this, Rich. Who would you want to take over if?
really difficult. In the summer, like a year ago, This won't be popular for Brentford fans, but you say that someone like Thomas Frank was tactically extremely good. I think what United need is someone that is a solid, dependable, and no, rather than going for somebody that's Amrin's very young. I think United need to go for someone more experienced, regardless of who it is. I know people talk about Nagelsmann was a name that's come up. I think United need to. This is like a big appointment because I think we're doing better business in the transfer window the last couple of seasons, but it's just not showing on the pitch. I think we've bought better players and we've bought younger players. We're actually planning a bit better. We've got players on better contracts. We're not paying 300k a week to people like Sancho. We're paying 150 to Mbeumo. So things like this are good, but you need to make sure you get the right appointment. So it's really difficult to say, but maybe they should look within the Premier League. Maybe that's because I think that if you go for a manager that's never managed in the Premier League or a very top league as well, I think sometimes the level's a bit. I think they like I said like we're talking about Burnley at the start of the stream. You go to Burnley, they could be fighting for relegation, but they're difficult to beat, and you've got to have your team set up well to beat them. And I think that's the level we need. We need a manager that knows the level of the job. We're actually linked to Emery, and Aston Villa haven't scored a goal this season, so I was thinking, okay, it's not really
Would you take Nuno now that he's available?
possibly. I don't know. It's difficult to say because I wasn't expecting to have this conversation after 4 matches into the season. I was expecting to see a bit more progress. I just think that unfortunately, it isn't based on 4 games, is it? It's based on all of last season, and it's based on press conferences where he comes out and says, "I might walk." It's press conferences where I'm going to do a stream tonight on my own channel at 9, where the main stories are that he's like lost the dressing room and the players aren't happy. And I'm thinking, it's like 4 games in, guys. What is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels a bit like Eric Ten Hag, but fast forwarded and without the cup wins. It feels like everything's like happening like 3 times as quickly. Where you go, hang on a minute, we're only talking about a decent transfer window, and now we're talking about the next manager. Xavi, I've seen linked as well. Is he? I don't know.
He's actually not got a job, so he's not been coaching since he left Barcelona last season, the season before. So
I don't know. At this point in time,
football?
everything feels like a gamble because I don't know who to pick.
Yeah, just on Xavi, like the last time I heard from him, I think he was in Qatari football or something.
yeah,
so I think if United lose to Chelsea the weekend, I can seriously see Ineos getting rid of him. I would not be too surprised by it. But no, like I think the one thing that would worry me is the fact that Amram's been given all this money to spend, and we're obviously not seeing the results on the pitch. I know they've got injuries, etc. But as I said at the start of the show, and Burma's been their best signing by a country mile. 100%.
Yeah, he's been good. I think to be like slightly fair to Amarin, if you saw the last game on the pitch, there's Mbeumo, but Cunha was injured. Lamont was a goalkeeper signing, didn't play. Leon was a 5 million signing. I think who else did we sign? And Sesko, I think is again like Sesko's going to take a bit to get up to speed. So I think that unfortunately we're talking about 4 games in that it's going to take a bit of time. But we didn't sign lots of players. We signed good quality players, but I think unfortunately, like for me, like is he getting the best out of the available players, getting the best out of the squad? I think unfortunately, he's not, and that's his job. If Manchester United are going to do a rebuild, it's going to take a little while. You've at least got to get the best out of the squad while you try and improve. And I don't think he's maximised. Put it this way, I can't remember what happened. When Ruben Amorim took over at Manchester United, I think we were about 15 points ahead of Wolves. Wolves changed their manager about the same time. I think they were like 15 points ahead of us at one point, or they were ahead of they did much better than us at changing the manager. They didn't change their team, did they? Like Wolves didn't throw hundreds of millions at their team. So I think there's a concern there that it's not working out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'll take the next game. Karl, the most unfortunate way to lose that game of football. Fulham won Leeds 0. Goodmanson own goal. If you haven't seen it, it is an absolute cracking header, but just at the wrong end.
Yeah.
You must be gutted. You must be absolutely gutted losing that in that way.
I was generally good. I thought we were a bit more the better team than Fulham than most of the game. It just surprised me because I seen the goal again, and it looks like Goodmanson didn't realize it was going to hit his face because he would have cleared it, but because he was him and Kenny was marking Kenny, because he was not
Mm.
he was about 2 yards away from him. I thought Roden would have cleared it. And usually Joe was before it hit Goodmanson. So Goodmanson would reacted so late because he lost his balance. He didn't really it hit his face, not the head. It just went in. It was surprisingly it was such gutted because Lee's
Yeah.
playing a little bit better. I'm not gonna lie, but the point is our overall quality up front. Is that's gonna be our Achilles heel when.
Mm.
And this is the thing what I found out, and there's a reason why I was talking about this with Michael last night on the championship review about about the PSR stuff. Because our PSR, because we were the 2 seasons in the Premier League, and 2 seasons in the Championship, 1 season in the Premier League, we were restricted quite a bit compared to Sunderland. They had a limited, because they're not,
Mm.
So that's what affects it. So the point is, we were told we were going to spend on the maximum amount, to try to get it. We were told by Pragmatic, from Leeds we were playing against Everton. He told us Sky Sports, he said that we're going to be active towards the end of the transfer deadline day. That was the guy problem. That was the promise. And then on the day, we just didn't get no in. We expected to, sign High Wilson, but that deal was scuppered completely. Adam Underwood pretty much is our sporting director. So he's the one who should have been had the options there. And Daniel Farkas said it after the Newcastle game. We need quality up front. He said that, and we didn't get that. And I think we've been linked with players for so long. We get deal. This is the reason why Sunday signed Siddiqui, they signed Diarra. There's a reason why I think that because of the quality, and we missed out. They were the 2 players that we were linked with most of the summer as well. The thing is,
sorry, just to cut in there, Carl. The thing I think about I see with Leeds, goalkeeper, you're absolutely fine. You've obviously got Perry, you've got Darlow, who I was really surprised started on
Perry was
Saturday.
injured. So he was out. He's been injured. So he's out for the next. I think he's out for the next game as well against Wolves this weekend. So Darlow will be covering again, I think.
Right. Aye. I think you're good defensively, and obviously midfield. I think you're packed. It's up front. The forward areas I'm really, really worried for. You've obviously got Okafor, you've got Joe Pirou, you've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Dan James, Wilfred Dononto, but are you kind of missing that sort of that creative spark?
Yeah, and one of them is now at Valencia, and it's Ramazani, and I think I think Dan remembers. I think it was last season when he made his debut. He got injured, didn't he? And somehow Farkas never. I think it was a 3-0 win against Miller, and Farkas never returned him back to squad for some obvious reason. And the first game, I think it was Valencia, he got assist in the game. So it surprised me that it's like when one of our players get injured, he doesn't bring them back into the team, and I think that's been the issue. That's always been his Achilles heel, and I think you let Ramazan go, who can have that spark, and I think he would have been quality.
Yeah.
I think the problem we have is because of the PSI headroom, we're not good at selling players at the right time, and the problem was.
Yeah.
We couldn't find no one to take Bamford's wages. We had to mutually terminate his contract. And then all of a sudden, Mateo Joseph refused to play on the Farca this summer. He's now gone to Mallorca. So we have this. The issue is we never. It's the position up front has always been our Achilles heel, and I think yes, we've seen a bit of flashes, but the problem is if you couldn't get rid of Jack Harrison, who to quite honestly, a lot of Leeds fans, a lot of us fans, it's a huge divide between him at the moment. But you couldn't get rid of Jack Harrison because he signed on that big 5-year contract 2 seasons ago. He's now down to his last, I think, 2.5, 3 years left. It just shows that the club was done so badly under the previous ownership. It's like we're trying to fix all that problems, but we can't find the solutions for it. And I think that's the issue we have at the moment. Is the it's the quality up front, and with Karl only scored 3 goals last season. I just don't know. And it's like that he was the other top scorer in the squad compared to the other players that we got. Peru was the only one is actually the one who scored double figures last season. But Michael has got a point. We do have a recall clause on Langa Ramazani, but are Leeds going to activate that? Probably not. They won't. So I think there's a question now of how do we get through to January at the time if we don't score goals. We've only scored 1 goal, which was not, and it's only from a penalty. We've not scored from an open play, which is a bit worrying at the moment.
That is really worrying. But excuse my next pun, but Fulham obviously signed a winger called Kevin. Now, immediately the thinking is, what if he does something wrong? Then it just reminds me of
Home Alone.
Home Alone.
Yep.
So there's obviously going to be a lot of things there.
He looked quality. The flashes I've seen.
He looked really good.
Yeah, I think the last time he changed the game for Fulham. He really did.
Yeah. Rich, what have you made of Leeds so far this season, and do you think they'll stay up? Or
yeah, this is tough, isn't it? Because there's a couple of games where they're a bit unlucky over now so far to get points in, and it's difficult because looking at the table, they're probably benefiting, I think, from a bad start from other teams. So in and around that have started. I think most of us are probably expecting at some point that Aston Villa will pick up some points, and Manchester City will pick up more points. As I look at it and think, well, Leeds United at the start of the season, I'd have probably put them as being one of the favourites to go down. And it might come
that's
down
understandable
to
because I'm more pessimistic and just like being more realistic about our expectations compared with we were back in.
I think it's just because you look at the last couple of seasons, every team that's been promoted has really struggled. So I was looking at mainly because I don't watch the Championship that much. I just pay attention to results more than watch the matches. I thought Leeds United and Burnley might be the ones that would struggle, the ones coming up. And it's mainly because of what Sunderland were doing in the transfer window more than anything, that they looked like they were actually making a lot of signings, spending a bit more money than other teams that normally come up. And I was thinking, okay, well, it looks like they've got a mind that they're going to spend money to stay up. And
I think the
sometimes
difference with
that's
Sunderland and particularly Ipswich was signing players that was going to compete for the Championship this season, where Sunderland have bought players that are ready for the Premier League. You bought Granit Xhaka, who 2 seasons ago the team was undefeated. He was one of the best players for Bayer Leverkusen. He's at Sunderland, and look at that's the gap we have had issues with because Sunderland had more headroom compared to us because we spent so badly on the poor transfer decision which cost us. Especially we were into our second year of the parachute payment, where we knew that if we didn't go up last season, it was going to affect us more in the long run.
I think it's going to be difficult, though, isn't it? Like, it's always like sometimes the problem scoring goals. There's because when you look at some of the teams near the bottom that, and particularly like with Leeds, you've got how many goals have you scored now? Is it just
1.
a couple of goals? So at Leeds United, so you've scored what?
Just 1.
Just one goal.
Yeah,
and that's basically the problem, isn't it? 4 games, 1 goal. Looking like Aston Villa, the only Aston Villa not scoring any goals is actually ridiculous. That's really got to change at some point. And I think this is like when you see. Do you remember like you used to watch? I can't remember. It's like John Hartson used to be almost be bought in January by someone that wanted to stay up because you almost like need to buy someone that's going to guarantee you a certain number of goals. And for some reason, like I don't know if there's less strikers around. We don't seem to see that much in January transfer windows anymore. So it looks like you kind of have got to get these players in before the season starts. I think that's probably the worry for Leeds because it's one thing having these tight games, but unless you're scoring goals, like I just don't see where wins are coming from at the moment. Like Fulham are a decent team, but I don't know. I think it's a bit of a concern. Who did you beat, by the way, in your one win of the season?
Yeah, it was Everton against Everton the opening day of the opening
That's a
weekend.
decent win, actually, because I think Everton might do all right this season. So
Mm-hmm.
It was.
I think so.
It's the problem for us. I think that is. I feel a lot more sorry for Farker because he wanted to get a striker. He did say that in the press conference, and I think he's been let down by the board itself because the board is now dealing with some of the board are now dealing with what's going on here in Glasgow, across in Glasgow with Rangers, and so you got two big clubs that are now running all simultaneously at the same time, but separate entities. It's just it's a bit of a mess with that.
But we'll go to probably one of the best results in Sunderland's season so far, 0-0 away at Crystal Palace.
We got the video from
I
Michael from his match review again, so if we will,
Yep.
so we can go do that first, and then we can talk a bit more about that. Here's what Michael said after the weekend's result for Sunderland, 0-0 draw against Crystal Palace.
Thanks again to the lads for having me on, having this clip on the 20 tonight. Again, go and subscribe to Karl and Doug's channels. Really, really good content, and check out the Championship review I did with Karl last night while you're at it. We'll look through all the games in the Championship. But no, I'm here to talk quickly about Crystal Palace 0, Sunderland 0. Yeah, really, I think from my perspective, I think the Palace, obviously, they won the FA Cup final against Man City for a reason. They won the Community Shield against Liverpool for a reason. I know Doug will want to forget that. But they won both for a reason against some top elite level sides. And what's quite encouraging to me is that, even at the start of this season, Chelsea didn't beat them at Stamford Bridge. So they're obviously not a bad team by any means. They're unbeaten as of right now. At the time of recording this clip. So I think a point away from home for Sunderland, I think represents good progress. I think it represents that Sunderland have got the ability to compete, or at least compete regularly enough to give ourselves a good chance of staying up this season. But for me, I think it's a really good result. I think, and obviously we weren't without elements of luck in the game. I think that, is it Pino? I think when he was put through 1-on-1 towards the end of the first half, should have scored for Palace. Robin Roofs was quite busy in the second half, but I think in the end, Sunderland, for the endeavour they put in, did deserve the point. And look, I'm not going to lie, Islam Assar and Adam Wharton being out for Crystal Palace was probably a blessing in disguise. It probably did help us a little bit. But at the same time, I think it's still a very, very hard game. And a lot of people were talking about our first three games as being West Ham, Burnley, Brentford. And even though I stand by that, I'm getting a bit tired of people saying that because there's no easy game in the Premier League whatsoever. Forest lost 3-0 at home to West Ham. Chelsea didn't beat Brentford. Villa didn't beat Brentford. So, and you could say Liverpool only just managed to beat Burnley in the last minute and dying second through a penalty against 10 men. So it's still been a difficult start. No game's easy in the Prem, but as far as this is concerned, I think it's a very solid point, and I think 7 points from the first four is really good. I'm still disappointed we lost at Burnley, but that's football. Sometimes it happens. So for me, getting a point away Crystal Palace, it's really good, but I'm still keeping my feet on the ground. We've just got to make sure we keep going, and as cliched as it sounds, keep pushing, keep going, and we've got to just make sure we can get to 40 points as quickly as possible if we can. But no, thanks very much to the lads for having me, and like I said, we've done well so far. Let's hope we stay up this season. How are the lads?
Thank you for Michael Bowers to give his another week of review for Sunderland away game at Crystal Palace. And like I said, he's right. It's what every game is a difficult game, and Sunderland have handled it so well.
Yeah, 7 points from their first 4 games is a really good start. Obviously wins at home against West Ham and Brentford, and obviously lost 2-0 to obviously Dan's lot as well. But I think a 0-0 draw away at Crystal Palace is a really impressive result. They've got to find their goalkeeper though. I think he made 9 saves, which I think is incredible to say the very, very least. But
I think it's a huge upgrade over Anthony Patterson. And notice what Anthony Patterson, he kept, last season, despite the run into the end of the season, he was pretty much one of the key players last season for their run to get to the Premier League. But they knew they had to upgrade on the goalkeeper, and I think they've made a really good, signing.
Yeah, I think so. Rich, are you a bit wary of like going to like the Stadium of Light? That could be an interesting game when United
Uh,
go to the Stadium of Light.
yeah, we got a couple of games, so we'll probably have the same manager. I don't know. It's one of these games where I think most Manchester United fans are probably determined like a must-win game, but in reality, it's a difficult game because Sunderland clearly they want to stay in the Premier League, and these are difficult teams to play against because they can effectively like prioritise defending, trying to get a point, which might be crucial. They've already picked up a few points already. They've already started the season strong, so they can be quite confident. But also, if they might be looking at Manchester United as a team that they can hit on the break because we've been quite vulnerable. So it's not going to be an easy
Mm,
game. And the way we're playing at the moment, it's certainly not going to be an easy game. And just trying to look at some of the results they've got. But I think I'm not overly surprised. I was expecting them to be the best placed sort of team that's been promoted, but I think getting results at this stage of the Premier League is very good. And fair play to Sunderland, like they deserve the results they've got. They they've done the right thing. They bought well in terms of like they bought to try and stay in the Premier League. And I don't, when they beat Brentford, I think we were worried about Brentford. And no, the win against West Ham was pretty impressive as well. So
yeah.
no, I think they all stay up. That's what makes it a bit interesting. So we might be seeing potentially a bigger team get relegated. So I think they got a good chance to stay up, and it's going to be a tough game. I'm not really looking forward to it because at the moment I get the feeling that any defeat is going to be, or any draw, even like a draw against them would be considered a disaster because Manchester United are heavily scrutinised, and people are just we need to get a few wins, to take the pressure off the manager, and I'm not sure at the moment there's any
Mm.
sort of guarantee of that from that game.
I
Yeah.
mean, Dan, you watched Sunderland, didn't you? Obviously, like at the turf, obviously Burnley beat Sunderland 2-0. Were they really like? Was it just like an off day for Sunderland, or did Burnley play really well against Sunderland?
It was a game of two halves. First half, they came out all guns blazing, looking like a team that had clearly, won 3-0 the week before. And I thought, Jesus, these are the teams we need to be beating, and we were on the back foot. Second half, it was almost like Sunderland didn't come out for it.
Mm,
It was really surreal. Um, Again, it goes down to similar to what we had the other day, where we had to be clinical in our opportunities and chances, and when they came, we managed to be. So I do, I think Sunderland have got everything right. The dynamic there is great. The signings they've made are fantastic as well. But yeah, there's that complacency that worries me, which can sometimes happen. I mean, every team will face it at some point this year.
yeah.
But yeah, in that game in particular, it was like we saw the Sunderland that had won 3-0 in the first half, and in the second half, it was just it was almost like the Sunderland that struggled to limp
Mm.
into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And just a very quick one on Crystal Palace, Karl. Unbeaten in 15 games.
It's a good record. I think it's been good for the Eagles, and especially you know keeping Matt Gray on the deadline day, especially the move to Liverpool collapse. I think it's vital for them,
Yeah.
especially the running they're going into the for the European competition in the Conference League. It's huge, and I think Oliver Glass has built something there that was probably needed for a long time, and they've been resilient from the switch towards the end of last season, and they continued that run of form, which is really good as well.
Yeah. We've got one more game to discuss, and then we'll be finishing the show.
Yeah, we have one more
Everton
game to
nil, Aston.
discuss. Before that, I know Rich, you have to go because you've got your show. You got your
Yeah, I'm
show.
gonna have to jump for this one. What was the last game?
Everton against Villa.
Everton, Aston Villa. I was just going to ask you actually before you went, Rich. Are you still a bit regretful that you didn't get Martinez over Lamons, or how are you feeling about that?
It's generally hard to say. I think for United that we should have ideal scenario we should have replaced Binder and Onana and got Lamans and Martinez, have an experienced goalkeeper and have one that should be good for the future. The fact we've had two goalkeepers that are not good enough as our number one and two for 2 seasons is it's just ridiculous, isn't it? Like, I can't say anything more than that.
Mm,
Onana and Binder, the first like a year ago, we should have replaced one of them. they both weren't good enough, and we've got into a situation now where let's hope Lamens is good, because if he's not, then Amrin's definitely gone, because there's no way Barnes is keeping many clean sheets. That's what I'll say. So no, it's just again an oversight, a big one though, because the goalkeeper for me is an important position on the pitch. Like look at Donnarumma, levels above like
Yeah.
what we've got to offer. I don't think we could have got Donnarumma, but Emi Martinez would have been like a massive upgrade on what we've seen. No, thanks for the invite, Doug. Appreciate.
Pleasure.
I will say as
Pleasure.
well, Aston Villa, if they get sacked, maybe that manager come our way, but I don't think it's the best case scenario to get a manager that's to score a goal for the team. Nice to speak to you again, Dan. Good to catch you again, Karl.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Cheers, Rich. Thanks very much for joining us as well.
I'm not familiar with the software. Where's the exit button on this one?
Well, you will see if you click on the back to the
right?
dash. Yeah, but you're right there, so you could go. So yeah.
Okay. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Take care, Rich.
Cheers. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you for Rich from Red Devil United. We'll put his link in the description as well. Let's go to the Hill Dickinson Stadium, and it was actually Villa to get another point, especially at post start. But Everton had a good chances down in the game, and Michael Keane had a couple of good chances to try and get Everton to win.
Yeah, I had the joys of watching this one. My stepdad's a Blue, so he said, since Burnley's playing on Sunday, can we put it on? So I was like, yeah, why not? So I had to sit through this 0-0, but it was actually really good signs from Everton going forward. I think, like I said, the signing of Jack Grealish has just absolutely revitalised them down that left-hand side, which you've got to fear for people like Dwight McNeil, who's sort of been, kicked to the bench and things like that, because I don't think really he'd put a foot wrong when he was in the side. But Grealish obviously offers them something a lot more in terms of the goal threat. It was the perfect game for him as well, coming up against a team that he loves and supports. So he'll be wanting to do something against them. I just think Villa's goal drought for me is very, very worrying. I think Emery's got to try and sort that out big time. Michael Keane. I mean, I think I saw an interview with James Tarkowski this morning, and it was building the perfect Everton player, and it said something like strength. He'd gone for something like Jake O'Brien, and it said all round finishing, and he actually said Michael Keane. Now, I'm sorry, but your centre back is saying that another centre back. It tickled me. I won't lie. But yeah, he had the best of it. It's just a case of, the chances didn't fall right, just over the bar. Really unlucky for Everton. They were knocking on the door all first half. Second half, they had spells. I thought Villa came back into it quite a bit in the second phase of play. But yeah, I think a point all round is not a bad way for that game to end. I think if Everton did grab a winner, you wouldn't have grumbled, because they were on top for the majority of it.
Yeah, absolutely. They were on top of the majority of it as well. Well, that's actually come to the end, isn't it, Doug? We've got through all the 10 fixtures this past weekend.
Yeah, it's been a very good show. Obviously, big thanks to Dan and thanks to Rich for coming on. It's good to get you guys back on. Actually, it's been a while since we've actually all done one thing together. So it's nice to get on, and
it's like having a school reunion.
Yeah, it
is. It is. It really, really is.
Absolutely. I've got tables up, so I'll bring the table up for this past weekend. So Liverpool still on top with their 100% unbeaten record, ahead of Arsenal, Spurs, and Bournemouth in the top 4. Chelsea dropped down to 5th. Everton and Sunderland and Man City in the top 8, with Crystal Palace and Newcastle in 10th. Fulham finally get their first win in as well, alongside with Newcastle as well. In the bottom of the table, it's still winless at the moment for Wolves, alongside with Aston Villa as well. West Ham have dropped into the bottom, so after shipping 3 goals this past weekend, and Leeds, with their second loss, which is ahead of Burnley in 16th or 17th place, and Manchester United and Forest and Brighton and Brentford make up the bottom half of the table in the Premier League. So, yes. So, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Usually, we'll go through the last couple of messages before we finish off as well. Yeah, Mr. B High said Kevin the teenager. Yeah, that is a good point as well. Yeah, as well. And he's also said Sunderland look one of the best of the promoted teams as well. And Michael did put this in as well. At the moment, Sunderland had defined expectations, but it's still early to say which teams will be in the relegation zone. Although Wolves and West Ham have already made bad starts. Mr. B have also said Everton on fire. Grealish is back to his best. And he's also said Sunderland might hit a few bumps in the road eventually, but they do look well equipped to stay up. And actually, thank you, Stephen, for staying on the show.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, absolutely as well. And March is coming with the last comment. It's still a long way to go this season. Plenty of upsets all around. Yeah, we are going to be expecting that completely as well. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of upsets that are going to happen in the next 33 games now coming up now. So yeah, it's a long way to go. But Dan, it's been a pleasure always. Thank you very much. Everyone could find you on Turf Moorhouse TV on YouTube and also on other platforms as well. You got any content coming up this week that if you want to let people know?
Yeah, I've got a match preview coming up this week with a Forest fan, so I'm just going to basically abuse Marinakis to his face. And then I won't be on the game this weekend, so I will be doing a live watch along for the Forest game on Saturday. And then on the Tuesday, I'll be doing a watch along for the Cardiff Cup game. So yeah, lots to come, and there's more things in the pipeline as well. Hopefully, I've got a few things that I can't say right now, but in terms of things that could up the channel very, very well, yeah, it's looking good.
Good to hear that from Dan from you as well. And Doug, I know you'll be back on this week to do more your previews, especially with the Champions League back on as well, and also your Premier League and also the Scottish Premiership predictions as well this week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's another big week ahead. Obviously, we've got the Merseyside derby, so need to try and find a blue nose to try and get him on for that. But
you've had one of them all week. You've had one of them all week, haven't you? With tissues and stuff like that.
Oh Christ, I know. But I'm feeling loads better, as you can tell. It's nice to sort of get back into the swing of things, and it's nice to sort of get back into doing these pods. And as I said, it's good to get back. But no, few videos this week, usually the same as well. I might do shorts for like Champions League predictions because I probably don't have like enough time to do sort of like a video for obviously the Champions League. So what I'll probably do is like every sort of game day when there's games, I might do like a little short just with my predictions, etc. So yeah, just obviously people as well. Just the one thing for me. Most of you have been watching, haven't been subscribed. Please do hit that subscribe button.
Yes.
Doesn't cost you a thing. And obviously hit that subscribe button on Red Devil United and obviously Turf Moorhouse and also the totally Levy and Horne football pod. So there you go.
Thank you, Doug. And yes, I am be back on this weekend with the Saturday show at 11 a.m. And then this Sunday coming up, we'll do the Championship review, especially the return of Chris Wilder back at Sheffield United for the third spell as well. So that is going to be a lot interesting to discuss on that as well too.
I can't believe that. I cannot believe that's happened again. It's like going back to an ex that you just cannot get rid of. And you just keep going, and then basically sack somebody else, and then
it reminds me of Liz Taylor and Richard Burton all over again. So,
Christ Almighty!
Put it one way, I don't think Chris Wilder's ever been into a job centre because he doesn't need to.
Exactly.
That's 6 weeks where you're out of a job and you don't get any money from.
He got a good payout as well too, so he's now going to have another good payout again. Anyway,
it's strange. It's strange, but if it works for them, fair enough. But It's comical, isn't it?
They ain't going up this season, I can tell you that.
No,
No,
definitely not.
no, they're not. Absolutely not. But I will be to try to do some shorts this week, especially on the Champions League results as well. So I'll be trying to do that over the next couple of days. But yeah, I will be back on later this week as well. Thank you for everyone to watching. Like you said, I've seen the people who are not watching and not subscribed. Please hit the subscribe button for all of our channels as well. We appreciate it. It doesn't cost a thing, like Doug said. It's free. So all you have a good weekend. We'll see you guys back next Monday, especially because there's no Monday Night Football next week at the same time at 7 p.m. So all of you have a good week. Take it for now, and it's goodbye from us.
Bye.